There, we would be gone. Okay. I just realized, yes, I was talking away. All right, let me turn my volume down. When I was talking away, I realized, you know what? I don't think that when I switched computers, I don't think I turned my volume on. So let's start that again. We'll just do it again. So one of the things that I love about Microsoft, one of the tools that I love about Microsoft are their accessibility tools. And so I'm Julene Reed. I'm in Memphis, and I've been in education over 25 years. And so this is about awesome accessibility tools with Microsoft, which I just said, but it wasn't playing the audio. So glad to be with you. And when you think about our kids today in the classroom, especially as we're going with distance learning and all the changes we're making today, it's really been a shift for those that are struggling. If they're struggling, whether they're ESL learners that are struggling or ELL learners, or whether they're young readers that are having reading problems, or they have severe disabilities of some kind, it's a shift in the classroom anyway. It's difficult to manage that, but then to manage it with distance learning is even more so. So how we make learning accessible and inclusive. And so that's what we're looking at. So today we're going to look at the overview of the presentation, which is kind of what we're doing, and I just did. And then look at the options that we have that Microsoft gives us, because with all the people that are working in this space, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Microsoft truly is the leader here. They have created some amazing tools with the learning tools, and especially the Immersive Reader. I love everything it can do. So some of this will be live. I'm going to go through some of these slides for you, and just thinking about all the students we have that have special needs. I mean, there are so many students with issues, like over 1 billion of them have issues of some kind. They're either colorblind, dyslexia, low vision, they have auditory problems, speech problems. So all these different types of things that play into learning. And how do you work with all these students in all these levels when you're also working with accelerated students and other students, and how do you manage that? It sometimes gets difficult. And so it often gets difficult. And so what Microsoft has done is put a lot of great tools in here for you. And our classroom students learn in so many different ways. They have so many different reading levels and so many different grade levels that walk in our doors sometimes. And then we have special education students that are being streamlined. We have our ELL and ESL students that don't always have a great understanding of the language, and yet we're responsible for making sure they understand the content. And lots of our instructional time can be lost to that. So we're going to look at the accessibility tools, including Immersive Reader, and we're going to look at Onenote, and we're going to look at some of the research and writing support we can have with this. So there's some really great things we can do. And one of the things that you can do is the accessibility checker. And the accessibility checker is available on all products. And Microsoft has built this in where you can quickly judge and assess whether something you've written or created is accessible. So I think of some of my students, because I've taught in all grade levels, K through 12, and I teach higher ed, and I think about getting presentations even for master's students that are light gray with even lighter gray text, and you can't read it. So making sure that when we're doing presentations and documents that it's accessible and that the students can read it is really important. So one of the first tools, and I'm going to jump in and out right here when we're going through these different things because I want you to see some of the tools that are available. And one of the first tools that we have are the learning tools. And with learning tools and Immersive Reader, it is such an awesome tool for us because the Immersive Reader creates a reading experience that adds accessibility and comprehension for learners of all ages and abilities. So in the chat, if you've used the Immersive Reader, would you put how you've used it in the messaging for just a second? I'm going to stop and see if I can see you put that in there. I think it'd be awesome if you could do that. So I'm going to wait just a second and see if anybody can share in the chat how they've used Immersive Reader, if they have. Because this is really my favorite tool, and I love to see how it's being used by different people. Anybody using it? Not sure what it is, so I'm going to show you. I'm looking at my other computer to see. Have seen it shown, but have not used it yet. Okay, well, good. Well, we're definitely going to do that. So that's one of the tools that I just think is awesome. So I'm going to show you what Immersive Reader does and how it looks and how you can use it. And so if you see on here, when you see this icon on the left that you're seeing on your screen right now, that tells you it has Immersive Reader. And there are so many places you can be in the Microsoft ecosystem and find Immersive Reader right there, which is really awesome because it's accessible even in Flipgrid. If you use Flipgrid, you probably never noticed it, but Immersive Reader is even available right there in Flipgrid. And so that's a really important place for you to look as well. So when I look at Immersive Reader and I see this arrow, I can actually have different types of voices speak to me, it can read to me, it can do syllabication, it can do parts of speech, it can do translation. So right now, if you don't see it when we're working in some of these products, when I'm showing you and demoing some of these products for you, if you don't see it then, know that it may be something that you need to download, and hopefully your district has given you permission, has already put that in your build of your computer. But it might be something you can download, and you can get to it free just by looking for Immersive Reader and going to just a search engine anywhere, look for Microsoft Learning Tools download. Microsoft Learning Tools download, and you can try it out right there so that you'll download it and then it will be available in the different tools. So one of the other things you can do is when you think about your dyslexic students, those that are having issues with reading or something and have problems with their vision, there are just certain fonts that tend to work well with that. Not all fonts work well with dyslexia, and so some fonts are better than others. And so the two that they have chosen here for you to look at are that are included in Immersive Reader are the two that you see in that presentation. So it's Calibri and it's also Psycha. So those are the two that you will see. And I don't know that my PowerPoint is advancing all of a sudden. So hold on just a second. Let me make sure it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. So let me know if you're seeing the PowerPoint advance because something kind of crazy is happening here. I want to make sure you're seeing it. Are you still seeing the slide? Yeah, you see it. I see it now. So here's what the syllabication looks like. And so it can go through, and we're going to do this together in just a second. So you can go through and you can use the syllabication and it will divide it up, which is a really good activity. So any text that you would have, if you wanted students to see that and be able to understand how it's divided, then they can use this. It will read it to them when you play the little button down here at the bottom. And we're going to look at those options. It'll even have the picture dictionary. You can turn it on so when you hover over a word, you can put picture dictionary on. And so for really emerging readers and young readers and those ESL students, if they're not sure what a word is, they can just hover over it and they'll be able to see what that word is just through the picture dictionary. So what I want you to do is, right now, I'd like you to think about how you can resize your screen. And the way you can do this is you can take your screen and let me change my sharing here so that you'll see it because I want you to be able to play at the same time that I'm showing you. And so what you can do, let me pull this over here, is you can pull your screen to the side and let me change my sharing so I'm not seeing just the presentation, and I'll share my whole desktop for you. And the desktop I want to share is, let's see, desktop. This one, that should work. And okay, there you see volcano. So what you can do to make it so I don't look like a postage stamp for you is pull one window over. Let me pull this one down. Let me hide and pull this window up. And here's my team. Come on, teams, open up. There we go. So I'm going to have my team on one side, and that's where you're going to see my presentation. And one of the clues, if you haven't done this before, is if you hover over my initials or my name down here at the bottom, you'll see 3 dots, and you can pin me. And that will make my presentation screen larger, hopefully. But right now, I want you to have a browser window on one side, and then also have the team on the other side so that you can see. So it's going to look something like that. So I'm going to pull this away and I'm going to open up a browser window. And in this browser window, I just want you to go to office.com or go into Portal, however you normally log into Portal. Now I'm going to go and leave mine full screen so you can see it better. And then when you're here, let's just go on and open a Word document. And we're going to play with this just for a second. So we're online and we're in the cloud, and we're just going to make, you can open one you have or you can make a new one, but I want you to be able to type in it too, because we're going to look at a couple other tools while we're here. So here we are in a Word document. And so if you'll just do that and get one open, and then you can copy and paste something, but I'm waiting for it to load. It's taking a second here. I don't have my tools. There we go. So I can go ahead and start writing in it. So today is July, and I'm going to put in some words that I can use Picture Dictionary with too. And so I wanted to share a couple things with this as well, that there are two versions of Word, just like there are two versions of OneNote and other programs as well. And so when you're working in the cloud, it's going to look a little different than when you're working on the desktop, and the resources are going to be different whichever place you're in. So I'm just going to put a couple of things here. We flew, oops, it thinks I'm still in. I'm just going to do that. The week, oh, it thinks I'm just going to take that away. The week after 4th of July, we flew our flag, people, and I don't know if they'll have this one, fireworks, and, whoops, fireworks, and it scared a lot of dogs and cats. So you can write what you'd like to. I just put something there just to have some text to use my Immersive Reader with. I'll make it bigger where you can see it a little bit better. And then across your menu bar, it's going to be different, like I said, whether you're in, whether you are in the cloud app or the desktop app. So in the cloud, in Office 365 that you get to through your portal or online, and you know you're there because of the browser tabs, I can go up here, and I will make sure my cursor's at the beginning, and I can go to View. And when I go to View, I can click on Immersive Reader. So here comes Immersive Reader. It's going to load it, and now I can adjust the settings down here. So if I click on this, I'm going to show you in a second. It's giving me my tips. I'm going to do next tip. It's going to tell me I can adjust text spacing and colors and more, and then go to my next tip, and I can adjust the number of lines to improve focus. So right now, I can just play it, and I don't know that you're going to hear it. I'm going to turn it up really loud, but I'm not sure my mic will pick it up because of just the way we're doing the team. I'm going to play it.
Today is July 10th, the week after 4th of July.
Okay, and that read with the male's voice, and it was actually a pretty good speed. However, for some students, you may need to click on voice settings, and you can adjust the speed. It can be faster, it can be slower, it can be female, it can be male. So you have those settings, and I will tell you one thing that I tell my students sometimes is, when you write a paper, before you turn it in, read it to yourself, because they'll catch errors that they don't normally catch in that paper. But if they use Immersive Reader and have it read to them, then they can just sit back and listen and think, does that sentence make sense? And all of a sudden they'll say, that's not even a complete sentence, or that verb tense doesn't match. So it's actually a tool for a lot of good ways. Then another thing we have here is we have the ability to click on things and see the word, like today. I don't know if they'll have week. They don't have it, but they have auditory for it, the audio for it. So all these words, if you don't know how to say it,
today,
it'll help them pronounce it. And the English language,
July,
is such a difficult language for students to learn. Here's flag. There we go. Excuse me. People, lots of people. So we have that. Fireworks. Oh, it did have fireworks. So you can see how it really helps young readers if they're trying to read something and don't know what the word is, or those struggling ESL readers. Another thing you have when you click up here on this is different fonts. These are the 3 fonts they use. You also have different themes, so you can change which theme you want to use for the color that's going to help someone who's maybe dyslexic or something. So you have that ability as well. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. And then I can also, let me go back here, click on these 3 lines here, and this is where I have my parts of speech. So think about studying nouns in a sentence, and students could circle it or annotate it, and now they're going to go back and check it. And you can change the color to be any color you want. So there's my nouns. I'm going to make them red. And then I could check my verbs. Where are my verbs? Those are my verbs, but I don't want them all to be red. I'm going to make them purple. So you can change the parts of speech and turn those off and on as well. Good for all kinds of English grammar types of things that you can use as well. And then I have the syllabication we did, and we've done the nouns and verbs and parts of speech. I'm going to turn all of that off. There's our syllabication again. But this last one right here gives you line focus. It has a couple things I really like. This is where you turn your picture dictionary on and off. And I can pick my line focus. So someone that needs to just be focusing on one word at a time.
Cats.
They can now focus on one word at a time. So I can go back up here, and now when it plays, or
4th
one line
of July.
at a time. It's doing
We flew our flag.
It's doing one line at a time, or I can even do it differently. So it's doing just a few lines at a time. So I have all these different things for line focus that I can use. But for this the ESL students, if I get back to today, I can now choose a language. So if I have a lot of, say, Hispanic students in my classroom, although we're finding more and more different kinds of languages, different kinds of students like Korean and lots of African countries. And then one of the ones I had the other day, they had a lot of Vietnamese, one of the teachers I was working with. So whatever language, you can translate it. And I have to say, translation is not always perfect, right? For someone who teaches languages, it's either your friend or your foe. And for those who teach it, they'll say it's never perfect. Yet, if this is the only option you have to communicate with parents or for students to understand because they still don't have any basic reading skills, this is one way to do it. So now it's done my whole document in Spanish, and it gives me my picture dictionary with both. I don't get the picture, but I get both languages, and it will read to me in that language. And then I can actually toggle back and forth between Spanish and the original English. So those are the powerful tools of Immersive Reader that I really, really love. And it works for all kinds of students, not just ones with learning disabilities. I've even told my graduate students about it because they will make the silliest errors because we get so ingrained in what we've written, we forget. I mean, we're thinking what we mean and we're not reading the real words, but if we hear them sometimes, it makes a big difference. And for those auditory learners that you have, it's a great tool for that as well. So any comments on questions on that before we go any further? I'm looking at the chat, see if anybody has anything. So hopefully you tried that. I'm going to show you another few tools on here before we go back to the PowerPoint. I want you to try a couple other things. So if we go on down here and just get your cursor somewhere on your page and go back to home. If we go to home, we can use this microphone here. And this is in Onenote. You can use it in Onenote, you can use it in Word. There are lots of ways you can use it, both online and on the desktop app. For our students, of course, we want them to be online in the cloud. For us, that's really where our workflow should be most of the time, but sometimes we'll be back on the desktop too. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the dictate tool. And when you do this, I'll do it first just to model it, and then I'd like you to try it. And when you do this, it's going to start pretty quickly. So you're going to dictate, and it's word to text. You need to talk like you're talking to Siri or Alexa or Cortana. So it has to be that really slow and deliberate speech. I can't believe the 4th of July is almost over. I'm thinking it's not doing this right now. Let me pause it. Oops, I didn't notice. Right here, can I use your microphone? I have 2 monitors. I'm just going to use the internal. So I'm going to allow it. I can't believe the 4th of July is almost over. Before we know it, comma, school will be starting again, period. So the first time I didn't use the punctuation, but the second time I did, which was, that's why I got the punctuation on the second one, but not on the first one. So you have to use the punctuation when you're talking, just like you would use it if you were talking to your phone and sending a text message that way. So notice that when you're using it, you dictate with your voice. So you have ways to do that. So it tells you what to do, what browsers will support it. Tells you the steps right over here. It also tells you on the right that language settings. So you can do auto punctuation, you can do voice command punctuation, and it supports different languages, and you can preview it in different languages, which is also very good. So you have those options, and then has the ability to make corrections. It can fix the mistakes for you, and so they may appear with like a comment, but it's not necessarily being done as you go. But if it needs to be corrected, then it'll give you a little mark, and you decide to keep it or not keep it. And then it gives you some of the phrases you can use, for your punctuation and some of those things. So for some of the students that do have severe problems and need those learning tools, it's there for that. It's also there for those who maybe have difficulty typing. They still need to edit it and look at it and see if it's okay. It really does a pretty good job. Once you kind of train yourself as well as training it to listen to you. And so once you start training yourself to speak correctly, then it's really helpful that you can do it that way. So I love that. I think that's a great option for you as well. You can also do a lot of Zoom, different things here, and things that will help you. So let's go back to the PowerPoint for a minute. Let me go back and find it for us and kind of revisit this again and see where we are. So we went through the different things here with the learning tools in Word Online. We just did that. And that was using the Immersive Reader. And then we did the dictation. So those are available in Immersive Reader and dictation are available in almost all the tools. OneNote, OneNote Online, OneNote on the desktop, Word Online, Word on the desktop, Flipgrid, all those different places. And so it even translates. That's what it's telling you. You can even translate things. So when you dictate things, you have the ability to translate them into different languages. So a lot of these tools, Word and OneNote, have translation built right into them, where students can have a document that's in English and can translate the whole thing. And as I told you before, that's something that, if they're in foreign language classes, it's not going to make them real successful. But for other purposes, it's extremely helpful. With the COVID and coronavirus, one of the biggest things you can do is really think about feedback. And so with feedback, okay, let's look at that in a second, Neil, and we'll go back and look at that. So with feedback, one of the things students want so much is to continue that relationship with you and to continue the relationship with each other. And one of the things I think is really hard when we're doing, even in the classroom, when we're managing a lot of students, and when we're working with students through distance learning especially, it's hard sometimes to give regular feedback. And yet, now more than ever, feedback is almost more powerful than assessment, because that's what they're going to do to keep the continuity of instruction going, to continue the relationships, and to really help them understand what they did well and what they need to grow with. So feedback can be done in multiple ways, and I think metacognition is also important. So having reflection on learning, those are critical as well. So when they do something, have them reflect on it. And when they do reflection or metacognition on their own learning, and they can do it in lots of ways. They may talk to a colleague, another student in the classroom, to a peer. It may be, today we're just going to find an elbow buddy, talk about what you learned, talked about what was hard, and let's talk about what next steps are. Or it might be they're writing in a journal today. Or maybe today they're making a slide on an ongoing PowerPoint that's reflecting the process. Or they may be doing a quick video recording or an audio recording. On OneNote, they can create audio recordings. And that's awesome for lots of reasons. Or they may be doing a quick video recording with a tool like Flipgrid. Flipgrid gives them all kinds of possibilities. And Flipgrid is good for you for feedback. But the more we can give students feedback, the better they're going to perform, the better they're going to really develop a deeper understanding and more engagement with their learning. And so using those options to give them that regular feedback. And what's wonderful with OneNote and with Word is that you can use the draw tool and annotate. So if you have something like a stylus or an interactive touchscreen, perfect. If not, it's amazing what kids can do with a stylus and with a trackpad or a mouse. For you, you can also leave audio feedback, or you can just type a text box or put a comment in, inserting comments. But giving them lots of options for feedback. So thinking about maybe they're keeping a journal in OneNote or class notebook, and now here the teacher has given them feedback. That, that is really important, thinking about how to keep growing them as students and growing their understanding. Also in Word, you have the ability to have a researcher, and this is something that they just came out with just a few months ago. And so it's something like if you've ever used the Explorer tool and some other programs, the same type of thing where it pulls up a browser window right there within the tool. So you don't have to go, the students don't have to go off and open a browser window and come back and go back and forth and come back. It's right there in the tool where they can use the researcher window. So what that researcher window does is it just gives them the ability to research while they're right there in the tool and keep going. And then another one that is brand new that just came out a couple of months ago is called the editor in Word. And so it's in preview mode. It's starting to get better. It's still there. You'll see it. But it's cool because what it'll do is it actually analyzes a paper that they've done, their writing. It'll tell them if there are grammatical errors, if there's spelling errors, if they need to add clarity somewhere, if they need to have formality. All those kinds of things. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually give them the opportunity to have things read out loud, speak it out, and it'll give them suggestions. It'll even tell them the explanation of that writing issue and how it can be fixed or corrected. So, and edited to be better. So it really gives them those context aids to really help their choice and their comprehension. So those are two of the newer tools that are coming in. And then if you've never used the reading view, especially if you're on the web, so if you've tried the new Edge browser, the new Edge browser is awesome. It's called Chromium Edge. And with Chromium Edge, I may just share it over here. Let me just see if I can find where this one is. I think this is, Tween Tribune. Let me just go there and pull it up. And if you want to get if you have the Edge browser, you too could get a browser window open and try this. And this is from the Smithsonian, but this happens for a lot of things. It's not just for this. So if you look, and let me change how I'm presenting here so that you can see what I'm doing and show you as I do it. So let me just escape this for a second out of the PowerPoint. And let me go over here to Teams. Hold on just a second. Get that down. There we go. Give it up. Okay. And join. Get back here. So what I want to do right now, I'm going to quit presenting here, and I'm going to present on my other computer for you so you can see it. You'll still see me and hear me right here, but I'm just going to change the way I'm presenting. So in Tween Tribune, you should be seeing that right now. Yep, how to humanify a body. So, and I'm in the Edge browser right now. And notice all this stuff on the side, and that stuff really becomes problematic. So I had gone out of the search window and just went to Tween Tribune and found this article about mummifying a body, which I'm sure all kids would find extremely interesting. And so when I'm up here, look what I have right here. When I'm right here at the top of this window with Edge, I have Immersive Reader right here. So right now, it's going to put it where I can actually see it super well. It took away all those ads. And now I'm actually seeing just the article and the images. So the kids can focus because they're like we are. They're like we are in that we go to a website and we're searching for one thing, and all of a sudden we see 3 other things, and 20 minutes later we found all these things we weren't even looking for. So how do we keep them focused on the topic? And that's what Immersive Reader will help you do. It'll give them that reading view. And then at the top here it says, and it's hard to see, I keep trying to make it bigger for you. Let me see if I can make it, I don't think I made that bigger. But it says read aloud. So I can again have it read it aloud to me. How do you mummify a body? I can pause it. And I have voice options for that. So it can read it to me. I can change my text preferences just like I did when I was Immersive Reader before. So I can make them larger or smaller or whatever I want to. I have reading preferences here, so I can turn line focus on and off. And if I turn it on, it's going to be like that, where I can just focus on a few lines or a lot of lines as I'm reading. Which that is something, you know, even when I was 100 years ago teaching 2nd grade for the struggling readers, you give them a ruler or something where they would focus just on one line. Or we even had these cardboard cutout kind of things. They hit everything except the one line they were reading. And then you have your grammar tools here as well. So all of those are right there. And so I love the way that Microsoft has built this into Chromium. And so it's all right here for you to be able to access, and it just makes it super easy. And so for any kids, that's, you know, just a great tool. And then if you save it, because right now, I'm trying to think how I did this. If I go up here, let me look and see. There's a way, the old Edge, and I always struggle with this just a little bit, so let's give me a second. Because the old Edge lets you go right ahead and, no, we can put it to a collection. That's not what we want to do. We can add to favorites. You can print it to a PDF and then share it with students. I think if you share this link, let me look. If I copy this link, and let me just go share my whole desktop so you can see what I'm doing. So that's not, okay, let's share my whole desktop this time. This one, okay. And now I'm going to add another browser window, and I'm going to copy paste that in, and let's see if it comes through with the yeah. So if you take that link after you've used Reading View and stripped it, then that's what your students will get when you share that link, which is really awesome. So if you're sharing that link through Teams or a class notebook or an assignment, they're not going to see all that other stuff, which will distract them, because remember, this is how it started. If I go up here, and let me get out of Reading View and go back. This is how we started, and this is where we ended. So that is a really powerful, powerful way to immerse them and to engage them in what you're doing there. Let me go back and show you a couple other things here. Just a second. Let me stop that sharing and get to where I want to show you where we are now. And we've done the feedback. So, and we just, this is where we ended. So let me share my screen again, and you'll be all back in the same place now. There you go. I think we're back. There you go. Okay, so this is the presentation again, and this was the Loch Ness Monsters and DNA samples, but we did the other. So it shows you how you can pull all those things down right here within the Chromium browser. And then you have Translator. So you were asking about translations, and Microsoft has done an awesome job of building translations into so many tools. And if you've never used the Translator app, it's incredible. And you asked about the Word app, so I will show you that too in just a second. But if you've never done that, this is just a great way to engage parents even. So they come to open house, they don't speak English maybe. And so if you use the Translator app and then share that, start the conversation, they're going to hear everything they say if they put it on their mobile device and use your code, then they're going to be able to join with the code and it'll be translated on their phone. So if you're interested in that, you can explore that as well. So that's a really good tool. And then you have Office Lens. Has anybody used Office Lens? I'd love to see if you've used that, because it's a super tool if you've not used Office Lens before. Anybody use that? Put in the chat if you have. I want to see if you've used Office Lens before. So this is an app you can get on your phone. And what it does is it provides you the ability to take pictures of things. So with your phone, you can take pictures of things really quickly. Oh, you are using it. Oh, you want me to show how I cleaned up the article again? I'll show you in a second. So you are using it to take pictures. But what's really nice is, like, especially they have an example in a video of taking a teacher's bulletin board, but you can take a picture of any document. And when you take that picture, it already crops it for you. It already like arranges the brightness correctly. It adjusts it if it's crooked, and it goes right into your OneDrive, and it's just easy to access then as a note, as a quick note. And so it's an awesome tool. So how are you using Office Lens? I see one of you is using it. How are you using Office Lens? Will you just type it in the chat, or you can open your mic and tell us, either one. See if they respond. If not, we'll go on. We'll keep watching in case you do respond. But look at it. So it'll, whatever you have, that picture, then you can put it right in a PowerPoint. You can put it in OneNote. You can put it in Word. You can then stick it in into like their class notebook. If it's an assignment or something, you can add it right there. So it's a real, people love Office Lens, and then it's great for your students too. But don't forget and don't neglect the Windows 10 settings, because right here in Windows 10, when you go to your settings for Windows 10, and I'll see if I can get them open for you. And so I'm in Windows 10, and I'm going to my settings. And now I see, let's see if I can make it bigger for you. Some things just don't want to get bigger. So I have all these different things across here that I can do. One of them is called Ease of Access on the right. And what you want to look at that ease of access. I wish I could make this bigger for you, and it's just not zooming in. I should be doing that with my, here, right here. Let's make that bigger. There you go. So see how I was able to use accessibility? Let's see if it's bigger for you now. I'm looking at the other screen. So hopefully you're seeing it better. So I used the accessibility app right there, the ease of access app, to make it bigger so you could see things. So for some of us, we like to have it used larger. And so now we can make text bigger, we can make everything bigger, we can make everything brighter, although I'm having up all the brightness it can do right now. I can simplify windows and do things like transparency and different things like that. But notice all the things down here. So I have, that's ease of access, but I also have vision. So I can change all kinds of things with the display. That's what we did. But now I have my cursor and pointer. Lots of things I can do for that. Magnifier, if you want to do that. Color filters, contrast, narrator, where I can turn on narrator and it'll start narration for things. So just don't forget all the built-in options that you have. And if you're not using Windows, whatever device you have, whether it's a Chromebook or whether it's a Mac or whatever you have, they all have built-in accessibility options too. So while Microsoft has these, just don't neglect the fact that there are others you can access as well. So let me close that for you. And so I just wanted to show you that those are under the ease of access. And so we looked at all of those. And then anytime you see an accessibility checker in a PowerPoint or Word or any kind of document like OneNote, it's going to check their accessibility. And what it does is going to check the text size and the contrast and how many images do you have. And it will check things like alt images. So if there's, or alt text. So if you have an image, and most of us don't have a need for this, but most websites and things build this in where if you click on an image, it'll, if someone's blind, it will read the text of dog chasing a frisbee or whatever the picture is. So thinking about that, and so making things really clear and making the presentation contrast and colors clear so it's easy to understand and easy to see. That's really important. And then they also suggest using headings. When you use headings, it makes it easier to navigate when you have some kind of chunking or manageable parts. And you know what? I think that's a huge piece for us in education right now with distance learning for all of our students, is that we're chunking things. We're putting them in small, manageable parts, because if we give them huge lessons, they're going to get lost in them. They're going to lose their attention span. They're watching a long video is not going to engage them for very long. It's there to do like part 1 or video 1 of this unit, and then video 2 and video 3, and put our lessons in smaller pieces and chunking things. That's really going to help them so that they don't feel overwhelmed by the content when you're not there to support them. And so I think that's really critical that we're doing that as well, that we're putting things in small, manageable parts and that we're chunking things for them. And moving on, there are a couple of accessibility types of graphs here, and this you have access to all this presentation at the end. I have a slide that'll tell you where you can get the PDF version of the slides. They're already up there. I'm waiting for you to grab them. And so some of these will kind of help you. I like this one that talks about if you have certain kinds of learners. Let's see if I can make that one bigger. So for auditory learners, you know, these are the tools you might consider if they need to have auditory help. For visual learners, can think about this. For kinesthetic tactile, consider these. And I have another thing I'm going to show you in just a second that's not on here, but I think it's really awesome if you haven't used this tool. So let me go back to my regular size here so I can get us down. There we go. I think it's, there we go. So here I'm gonna come back to the slides in a second, but I want to show you that when you're in PowerPoint and you're doing a presentation with your kids, or with your students, I don't know if you've used this before, but you can record your slideshow, of course, and have it as a video and just put it on the web if you want to. But over here at the right, and I'm not going to do it now because it takes a little bit to set it up. But right here, I'm just in slideshow. You have to be in slideshow at the top, and it says always use subtitles. And then it wants subtitle settings. So I can pick what language am I speaking. I'm speaking English, but I want like closed caption subtitles under my PowerPoint, and it pops up while I'm presenting. And I can try it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take too long, but we can try it and see. Because you want to do this ahead of time. It's also asking about your microphone, where you want them. I want them below the slide. And then I can start the subtitles. But what happens is when I say next, it's going to configure it. And as it's configuring it, well, it looks like it went pretty well, actually. That's amazing. So that was powerful. So now as I'm presenting, I had it on the top instead of the bottom. I didn't put the right position. But you see at the top, it's in English, so I need to go back and I need to adjust it. So my subtitle settings need to be stop subtitles. And what's really good for your ESL students, stop, please stop. Now that I'm doing it, it's never going to quit. But I should have just selected, all I had to do was select the right version, and I didn't have the right version. I think it stopped, yay. All right, so let's say it again. Let's see, I want to subtitle Spanish. I don't know why I did English. Spoken language, English, subtitle Spanish below the slide. So that would be good. Sorry about that. So subtitle Spanish. Hold on just a second. And let's try one more time just for fun. But it does work. I don't know why it did what it did, but let's try it. Start subtitles, English. Oh, here's where I missed it. English to Spanish. And so that's why it converted so quickly. It does take a little more time. So it's going to start and I said that again, here it goes. So as I go, there we go. Now it's in Spanish. It's still back at the top, so I need to check that again. But now it's presenting in Spanish too, and I like it better at the bottom so you don't miss the top, but you can put it wherever you want. So even online, if you're doing this, it's a great tool for you to be using this where they can see the language while you're speaking. And you know what? It could be English. Some of your students, those visual learners, need to be able to see it in English as well. So it doesn't have to be in a foreign language. It can be in English as well. So let's see if I can get to quit. There it is. That stopped better that time. So coming back, I'm going to answer some questions in a minute because I know some of you have questions. But here's my slides. I want you to see the slides, and I wanted you to see that. For students who are getting ready to present, there is also a rehearsal part of PowerPoint where you can rehearse a slideshow, which is awesome if you've never used that with students. And you can rehearse the PowerPoint, and then what it'll do as they rehearse, it's going to analyze their text because it's recording them. And they'll say, or listening to them, and they'll say, you had way too many pauses, like, things like that, or you spoke too quickly, or you have grammatical errors, and it helps them with rehearsing. So that's a good tool as well. And so with that, there's the presentation slides. And now I think we're pretty open for any questions or any, I would love to hear any of the ways that you're using accessibility tools as well. So if anyone would like to share that, that'd be awesome. So just remember, this isn't just for accessibility. This and for those that have, really problems with learning and have special needs, this is great for all of us for learning tools. I know, some people just visually need larger text. Some people, especially if we're on distance learning, you may want to make all your text 125% or something. You might want to consider that when you're presenting. So rather than trying to toggle like I was and enlarge it, you can make everything be larger. You could also think about having the text read to them, but think about that feedback at the other things we shared as well. So these are awesome learning tools to be used in 100 different ways, and so don't feel locked into them. It's just whatever works best for you. And know that some of the options that you will see in the desktop app will be different than the options you will see in the cloud app. So you may be looking for something and it's just not there. And that you have to be thinking, well, first of all, am I on a Mac or a Windows machine? Because sometimes those are different, or I'm on a Chromebook. The cloud app should be the same no matter what. Wherever you are, the cloud app should be the same. And yet when you're in the cloud app, the one that's in the browser, when I'm saying cloud, I'm saying like Office 365, Microsoft 365 in a browser mode, you're going to see some things that are a little bit different than you're going to see when you're on the desktop version. So for instance, in the desktop version, you may have that translation. And in the Office 365 app, you may not in Word. But in OneNote, I believe you have it in both. And so I was just going to pull it up real quick and make sure. Any questions or anything you'd like me to go over? I know one of you wanted to see Reading View again. I remember that. I can show you that again. What else?
When you use the word locked in, it was more like lost in. I was trying to make notes on a Word document to the side, and I had some and I left lines for it to fill in because very confusing. You had said it came through in 2 prints. I got the Calibra, but I'm not auditory. So I did not get what the other print was that they have a tendency to use.
The font's right here. So if you look, let me see, are you seeing my screen right now?
Yep.
So if you look at my screen, that's a Smithsonian magazine, right, that we're looking at. I'll make sure I don't have that up. Let me see. Yeah, see it. So up here, when I'm in Immersive Reader, I just clicked, and the way I got this cleaned up, for those who want to know, I just went up here, I'm in Edge. So I'm in the Chromium browser. Now I will tell you, there is Immersive Readers in a lot of Microsoft projects or applications. In some of the other browsers, like Chrome and Firefox, you will see a book, and that's Reading View. So even if you're in other browsers, sometimes you'll still find a Reading View, and that's helpful. But the only ones that you're going to have Immersive Reader in, which is what you're asking about, is I believe it's in text preferences right here.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm on the Edge browser, and this is also an Immersive Reader, it just looks different. So that's this. Okay, let's look at this one. Read aloud. No, not the read aloud. I thought we could change. It may not be here. Maybe we were in Word when we did that. As far as the font, but I thought for sure we could change the font here too. And I might be wrong. Let me look.
Are there certain fonts that are better for people with
reading
disabilities?
Yeah, they come up automatically. So let me just switch over here. Let me stop presenting here. Let me show you it over here again. Because the ones that they recommend, so I've put presenting there. I'm going to present this screen here. And the ones they recommend, there are 3 of them, and I will show them to you as soon as I present my window. Do my screen bigger. Okay, desktop, there we go. So now we're seeing that. Let me just get this out of the way and go down to Word. Come on, why are you doing this to me? My computer is tired. It's not even letting me get out of this now. So that's interesting. Let me try another trick. Oh, I've got another trick going here. It's going to work. So here we go. Yay, we're out of that desktop. So let me find out where we were. Here we go. So here we are. We were in View, and we were in Immersive Reader in Word Online. And so when I'm in Immersive Reader here, Word Online, it was the text preferences. So these text preferences right here, if you look, are Calibri, Sitka, and Comic Sans. Those are the ones that Microsoft has found that are most preferred from teachers and students, teachers who teach dyslexia students with visual problems, and then students who have visual problems like dyslexia. So do you get those 3? And this is all, I think you can see that in the slides, but I'm not 100% sure. So those are the 3. Other question?
Well, I have, I went to my site for the Office 365 to see what I had, and I put down and said all apps. And I did not have Immersive Reader on there. And I'm not sure if it's because I do most of my schoolwork on an iMac. But I have been using, instead of Safari, I have been going to Chrome because they said it works better with Chrome.
So what you want to do is you want to get the add-on. And so you want to, like I just searched right now, and this is, I'm on my Mac and my Windows here. I'm going back and forth, and this is on a Mac like you have. Learning Tools download, except I put leaning, that doesn't work, but same thing. Learning Tools download, and it'll say download and installing the Learning Tools for OneNote add-in.
I have OneNote for some reason.
Yeah, well, if it's not showing, if you're not seeing Immersive Reader, that's because you don't have the add-in.
I thought I had tried it, but I could have tried it on something else.
Yeah, so what you want to do is you just want to go download and install the Learning Tools for the OneNote add-in.
Okay.
And then it'll be like that, and then you'll just go here and you'll download it.
Okay.
And then when you're in OneNote or something, it will show up.
So Immersive Reader comes with OneNote, even though I have OneNote.
Yeah, you can have OneNote and not have Immersive Reader. Because it just is how, like, I don't know if this is your personal computer, if it's your district or school one, but it depends on how they have made created the build, whether it's, let me see, I'll just go away, always allow whatever, no, deny it, just trying to get it to come up for you. So it depends on whether, that's really interesting, so I just get it open, there we go.
Okay.
This thing is. So yeah, so if I'm in OneNote, I should still have the ability to have my Immersive Reader. And so probably, what does it do? Oh, it doesn't like it because it wants this message answered, which is, I don't know what this is wanting.
What I did was I typed in download OneNote add-in to get Immersive Reader and see what.
And that it's the Learning Tools that it is. It's a part of the Learning Tools. So let me just, and then it'll be right there for you. So I'm going to get out of this and just quit presenting here and go to the other one, because then I can show you there. Okay, let me look here. Desktop, there we go. So let me go to OneNote here and open it for you. And it doesn't matter, in OneNote you have 2 different OneNotes. You'll have on a Windows machine, on a Mac, no. You'll have Windows 10 and you'll have OneNote, the regular one. And they're going to look a little different than they do when you're, they're going to look a little different when you are on your Mac than on your Windows computer. So they're a little bit different. But so in here, let's see where it is, under Learning Tools. So OneNote itself, and this is the desktop app, and it's also in the cloud. the OneNote itself, if I just look at the menu, it says Learning Tools, and then here's my Immersive Reader right there.
Okay, I'll check that out and see if maybe it's hidden there.
Yeah, I can do syllables, nouns, verbs, comprehension, all kinds of things I want. Then I have these same 3 fonts available right there. Okay, does that help?
I will find out. I'll practice when I get off.
Yeah, so that'll help, I hope. Yeah.
And
And email me if not. Let me switch. That's my granddaughter driving us crazy. Just email me if not,
yeah,
and I will certainly send you, we'll see where it is, because I can help you. We could even meet up separately and you can share your screen. I'm happy to help you.
oh, no, I appreciate that.
She knows let me quit. She knows that she knows that our session's over at 1 and we've gone past it. So that's good. Yeah, hold on. Let me just mute everything here. Anyway.
Be happy that she calls you, because somewhere around the magic age of 8, 9, 10, something like that, when they have their friends, they forget who you are. I had one that she was like, maybe about 23 or so, and she called me and goes, "Can I come over and see you?" I mean, you should have heard the excitement. Yeah, okay, all right. By the second time I said, "Do I have to wait till the others are in their 20s before I see them again?" And she goes, "Well, yes, because at that point, they're getting married, have kids, they're traveling different places." And that's when we realized